Hello, today I'm going to bring you a modification. I have this Belkin TuneCast II, which I use. I plug in MP3 player, plug in like a CD player too or something, and it will broadcast your music over FM radio, so you can pick it up like in your car stereo, if your car stereo doesn't have an auxiliary input. So this is useful on long car rides, but this doesn't have the greatest power, and this particular specific unit is pretty old, several years old, and it doesn't do a very good job anymore. You have to kind of sit there and hold it just right, and then maybe you can get decent reception on your car radio or whatever. So I'm gonna open this up and check it out and see if I can't increase the reception a little bit. First, I'll plug in my MP3 player here, and we'll play a little Mozart. This is a tune that's it's freely available, public domain. I'll put a link to it if you like the music. We'll play this, and I'll turn on this radio. Let's see. Okay. Well, as you can see, if I hold it, you get okay reception. It's not great. And what I'll do, I'll pick this up. I'll walk away. You can hear how the reception gets worse. Well, it's already bad. Well, let's turn this off. As you can see, from a foot away, if I hold it just right, I can get okay reception. If I walk just 5 feet away, the signal's gone. So I'm going to open this thing up and see if I can't get a little better performance out of it. Okay, so I've got the back off, took the batteries out. There was a little sticker on the back here, quality control sticker that it kind of fell off. And under there is a small Phillips head screw. So I will just undo that. And then take a flathead screwdriver and just kind of pop it apart like that. And this is what we have. And then you can, there's one more Phillips head screw down here. Undo that. Don't lose those. And then the circuit board comes right out. And I'll get a close-up of this here. Okay, so here's the circuit board with the screen. I'll point out a few things. You got 4 wires that go off and connect to that. Well, 3 of them connect to that. The white one is labeled R for right, the yellow one for left signal, the black is ground, and the blue is the antenna. So the antenna on this thing is only as long as the cord, which is, I don't know, 8 inches or so, which is not a great antenna. Very short, it's not going to really get a whole lot of range out of that. The antenna is connected to this black box here. This is an induction coil which it works with, because it has such a short antenna, that coil actually helps improve the signal of that antenna a little bit, because that antenna is less than a quarter wavelength of the FM waves, and so by putting that coil there, they actually can get away with using such a short antenna. But overall, the performance is pretty bad. So what we could do is we could desolder this antenna and replace it with a longer antenna, one that's a quarter wavelength or a half wavelength. If we do that, we would need to bypass this coil. So we could do that by either bridging this with a small piece of wire. We could desolder this. We could just attach our antenna directly to this point here on the inside part, which is probably what I'll do. I'll probably desolder that antenna off and try to solder on a new antenna here. I'm going to go with an antenna of 30 inches, well actually 29.75 inches, which is a quarter wavelength of a like 99 megahertz FM signal. You know, we can adjust the FM signal on this thing so it covers a wide band, but by picking an antenna tuned to 99 megahertz, you know, it'll still be good on either side of that. You can mess around with other sized antennas. If you double that length to say 59-60 inches, you get a full wavelength, but that's a pretty long antenna. So I'm just going to go with like a 30-incher. I'd probably solder it on here, see if I can. It's a little tight. Desolder the old antenna and see how it works. Okay, so I got the new antenna wired on, or excuse me, soldered on. Now what I need to do is figure out a place to thread it out. Let's see. The other wires come out here. I'm thinking if I drilled a hole in the side there, I could just feed it through the side of this plastic. That might be the easiest way. So I'm going to go grab my drill and do that. Put everything back together. Okay, I'm going to put some batteries back in here and we'll test it out again. So I've got it all put back together. You can see 30 inches is a pretty long antenna, but you know, when I'm not using it I can wrap it around it or whatever. I'm going to try it out now, see if it made any difference. Start Mozart again. Turn on the radio. Wow. I'm going to have to turn down the volume. So, right off the bat, the reception's much better. If you remember before, without the antenna, I had to like hold it just right to even get a good signal. Here, I get a good signal without having to touch it. I'm going to pick this up and walk around my place and see what kind of range I get. We're going to turn this down a little bit. So I walked around my entire apartment and I could get pretty good reception throughout the whole apartment, which isn't very big, but you know, 20 feet or so. Anyway, there were a couple spots when I walked near my computer and some other electronics that it got kind of funny, but pretty good reception. I like the mod. I think this is going to really help in the car. You know, I'm not going to get great super range out of this, but for listening to music in the car, I think it's going to be really nice. I'm excited.